Arsenal smashed Man City 5-1 at the Emirates last season, but can they do it again today? Let's preview the game that can potentially define the title race this season. Welcome back to All About Arsenal. This Sunday, Arsenal plays host to one of the biggest fixtures in world football, the visit of the juggernaut Manchester City to the Emirates Stadium. Kickoff is by 4:30 p.m. today, and this can be a very huge moment in the title race. Arsenal are flying high, losing only one game this season from the first four, currently second in the Premier League, considered just one goal, a worldie of a free kick from Dominic Szoboszlai, while the other games have all been wins with clean sheets. Man City, on the other hand, had a mixed start to the campaign. 2 wins against Wolves and Manchester United, and of course 2 strange defeats against Brighton and Tottenham. Both sides played in the Champions League, ending 2-0 wins with Arsenal winning at Athletic Club while Manchester City defeated Napoli. Remember, Arsenal defeated Manchester City 5-1 last season at this ground, something that Pep would not want to happen again. For Arsenal's form and team news, I actually had this in more detail in yesterday's video where I spoke about it on the Arteta's press conference where he made everything clear on who are potentially fit to play the game and who are not. At the time of this recording, they have had one more training session, so I'm guessing that the likes of Saka, Saliba, and Ødegaard are going to have some late fitness tests, and hopefully those tests will come out positive and they'll be good enough to start the game. Ben White is fit again, but he's touch and go. While Victor Gyökeres and Mikel Merino are cleared, obviously, despite the head injury they suffered in midweek. The long-term absentees remain Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus. Arsenal have started their season very strongly. A 1-0 win over Manchester United in the first game of the campaign, a 5-3 demolition of Leeds United at the Emirates, a narrow 1-0 loss to Liverpool at Anfield, and a convincing 3-0 victory against Nottingham Forest at the Emirates. This was followed with a 2-0 win over Athletic Club in San Mamés. Arsenal started the season very well, scoring a lot of goals, and of course, being very, very greedy at the back. In the Champions League, their depth was on show when the likes of Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard came on from the dugout to score the goals that were enough to gain all 3 points for Arsenal in their first game of the competition. Obviously, the defensive solidity remained a talking point, with Arsenal conceding just 1 goal in all the 5 games they've played this season, and that goal wasn't even from open play. Man City, on the other hand, have had quite a tough start to life in the Premier League this season. It started very well with a convincing 4-0 win over Wolves and Molineux, but there was a shock home loss to Tottenham at the Etihad Stadium. This was followed up with yet another loss to Brighton at the Amex. It was a very late goal from Gruda, but parity was restored when Manchester City hosted Manchester United in the Manchester Derby and ran them ragged with 2 goals from Haaland and a goal from Jeremy Doku to finish the game 3-0. Following this win against Manchester United, Man City went into the Champions League and played against Napoli. That was actually a homecoming for Kevin De Bruyne. But his night was ended abruptly when Napoli had a red card for a professional foul and he had to be sacrificed for Napoli to get a more defensive player. The game still ended up in a 2-0 loss, and sure De Bruyne would have been very disappointed not to have played in the ground he called home for the last 10 years. Manchester City will be looking to reassert their dominance in the Premier League. In the last 5 seasons, they've won 4. And of course, there's a lot of animosity between them and Arsenal. When Arsenal visited the Etihad last season, Leandro Trossard had a red card in the 45th minute, and Arsenal defended a 2-1 lead all the way to the 93rd minute before John Stones equalized for Manchester City. And we all knew how that panned out. And Haaland said some nasty things to the Arsenal head coach. When Manchester City visited Arsenal in the second leg, the Gunners were out for blood, and the performance showed it. To injury news, Man City are without the likes of John Stones, Mateo Kovacic, and of course, the latest injuries from the African duo Ryan Ait-Nouri and Omar Mamouche. Mamouche suffered an unfortunate injury when playing for Egypt in the last set of qualifiers for the World Cup. Looking at the head-to-head and psychological edge between Manchester City and Arsenal, Arsenal had been unbeaten in their last four Premier League games against Man City. And of course, the last time both sides met at the Emirates, the citizens were embarrassed with a 5-0 loss that still looms in their memory. To predicted lineups, I would expect David Raya to remain in goal. As much as I love Kepa Arrizabalaga, he'll have to wait till Wednesday when Arsenal visit Port Vale in the EFL Cup. This will definitely mean that David Raya will continue to remain in goal. He has kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4 games and is odds on to win the Golden Glove yet again for the 3rd campaign in a row. In defense, I would expect to see William Saliba return to the team ahead of Christian Mosquera to play alongside Gabriel. While Saliba was out injured, Mosquera played against Liverpool, he played against Nottingham Forest, played against Athletic Club, and was very outstanding. So Mosquera has given us some level of confidence that there are games when Saliba can be fully rested to allow him play. And I'm very certain that he will play alongside Nkapie in the game against Port Vale. But for this game, with a player like Haaland in the ranks, I think I would love to see William Saliba play alongside Gabriel. But if he's not fit, that's not a problem. Arsenal has enough in the tank to challenge him because someone like Mosquera has shown that he can actually slug it out with the big boys. In the fullback positions, I'd expect Ricardo Calafiori, who was our player of the month for August, to play on the left-hand side ahead of Martin Kelly, while Julian Timber, one of the best right backs in the world, will play ahead of Ben White. Ben White just came back from injury. I'm happy to see that he's back, but Timber is the one that will play right now. It's going to be a very interesting battle with the trickery of Jeremy Doku. I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out. In midfield, Martin Zubimendi will be at the base alongside Declan Rice and Mikel Merino. I don't think Ødegaard might be fit enough to start, but if he does, I'll be happy. Many will be clamoring for Waneri, but in a game like this that requires some level of grit, I think I'll go with Merino. And Waneri can come in later if Ødegaard is not fully fit to even play at all. On the flanks, Saka might not be fit enough for this game, so I would like to see Donny Madueke cook up Mr. O'Reilly for Manchester City, while on the left-hand side, Eberechi Eze will play ahead of Martinelli and Trossard. Eze didn't really have a good game against Bilbao, but he was just decent at best. But this is now back in his home ground. He will want to show the fans why he's the number 10. I'm looking forward to a big performance from him. One player that I'm looking forward to another performance from is our striker, Victor Gyökeres. In the last 2 games at the Emirates, he has scored 3 goals, 2 against Leeds, 1 against Nottingham Forest. And I'm sure he'll be odds on to want to score in his 3rd home game in a row. And who knows, he can set a record of consecutive goals at the Emirates. You know how this thing starts. For our opponents, Gigi Donnarumma had an awesome debut against Manchester United and also kept a clean sheet against Napoli. But this will be a match that he'll be relishing. The last time he was at the Emirates, he was a colossus. In the semi-final of the Champions League, Donnarumma was the reason why Arsenal did not qualify to the final. And at the Emirates, he made some very key saves against Trossard, against Martinelli. However, Mikel Merino managed to score him, but that goal was ruled out for offside. So he'll be spoiled from the last performance he had at the Emirates, and I'm sure he will want to keep doing well. But Arsenal will be hoping that they can get some shots past him because he's one massive goalkeeper. In defense, Ruben Diaz will play alongside Josko Gvardiol. Manchester City sold Manuel Akanji to Inter. I think they loaned him out. And John Stones is still out injured. With Nunez not fully fit as well, Abdulkabir Kushanov will play as a right back, while O'Reilly will play as a left back. That defense doesn't look too strong. I'm really hoping that the likes of Eze and Madueke can get at them. It's in midfield where there will be a real battle, with Rodri fully fit again, alongside Reinders and Phil Foden. Phil Foden is basically bringing himself back into form after such an atrocious season he had in the last campaign, coming off the Player of the Year award he had 2 seasons ago. In the wings, I'd expect to see Bernardo Silva on one side, and of course Jeremy Doku on the other side. And of course, a certain Erling Haaland will be in attack for Man City. That guy is just a monster. He has already scored 5 goals, scoring 2 goals against Wolves, scoring 2 goals against Manchester United, and also scoring against Napoli. Arsenal are already aware of how good Haaland is. He has scored us in a couple of games he has played with us in the past. And even when Arsenal beat Manchester City 5-1, Haaland also scored in that game. So it's something that we need to really be mindful of. So the key tactical battles, one will be Arsenal's defensive solidity versus Manchester City's attacking threat. You know what happens when an unstoppable force comes against an immovable object? They both clash, and obviously it's the ground that will suffer the most. Arsenal is a team that is built on defensive solidity with only one goal considered in the last 5 games. Man City, on the other hand, are a lethal attack. 4 goals in their first game against Wolves, no goals scored against Tottenham, 1 goal scored against Brighton, we made it 5, 3 goals scored against Manchester United, we made it 8, 2 goals scored against Napoli, we made it 10. So Man City has already scored 10 goals this season already against the club that is not considered for open play. Arsenal starts for the season have been very good defensively, but their challenge will be to remain compact and disciplined to limit the space for players like Haaland, Bernardo Silva, and Foden to operate. Another key tactical battle would be exploiting transitions and, of course, set pieces. City is likely to dominate possession, and Arsenal might look to punish them on the break from there and also from dead balls. We all know how good Arsenal are with set pieces. We scored 2 goals against Leeds United from set pieces. Even the goal that Mendy scored, there was only a set piece that was put into the danger area that was nodded out before he smashed it back in. So Arsenal will need to capitalize on the ability they have on set pieces. When they played against Manchester City last season at the Etihad, Gabriel scored a very, very good set piece goal. Remember how Walker was prodding him. But what he did, he evaded his marker and smashed it home. The third key tactical battle will be what goes on in midfield. On one side, you have Zubimendi, Merino, and Rice. On this other side, you have Rodri, Reinders, and Foden. Whoever controls the midfield is going to determine how the game flows. If Arsenal's trio of Zubimendi, Rice, and Merino can disrupt City's rhythm and, of course, feed incisive passes to the forwards, then we can have a good platform to work on. The likes of Madueke and Izzy will have a critical job to do in the game because they need to create chances for a certain Victor Gyökeres to finish off. But it all starts in the midfield. Manchester City has a very, very good midfield. The best player in the world, Rodri, is currently in that midfield, and it's going to be interesting to see how the game pans out. Another tactical battle, obviously, will be fitness and availability. Both teams have players that are nursing injuries. On the Arsenal end, I potentially see Saka and Ødegaard not playing the game. While on the Manchester City end, there'll be no Aït-Nouri, there'll be no John Stones, there'll be no Omar Mamouche. Then there is psychological edge. We all know that Arsenal has had some recent victories against Manchester City, and this has actually boosted their confidence. City will always be dangerous, no doubt, but they'll be under pressure if they don't take any points from this game. Arsenal is probably the one with the momentum and psychological edge, bearing in mind that the last time both sides played at the Emirates, they defeated them handsomely. And of course, there's also the game plan of Pep Guardiola, the master tactician. I'd expect him to dominate possession, I'd expect him to press high, I'd expect him to look for overloads, and of course, feed Erling Haaland. But they might be vulnerable if they're chasing the game, especially in wide areas and in transition. So to match predictions, many people actually favor Arsenal for a win in today's game due to the fact that they've had a very good record against Arsenal in recent times and they are full of confidence. But I would expect this to be a very tight game, like a 1-0, 2-1 kind of game. I expect this to be like a whitewash that happened last season. The odds for the game are also mixed, but many might lean towards over 2.5 goals or both teams to score. However, with Arsenal defensive strength, they might actually be a clean sheet. So the idea of having both teams to score might not just work. So that's my preview of the Arsenal versus Manchester City game. Who do you think is going to win this game? Can you drop your predictions in the comments below? And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us at All About Arsenal for more Arsenal content. Till then, come on, you Gunners.